Welcome to the Secret Life of Entrepreneurs on 91.3 FM, CJTR. You're listening to your host, Barb McGrath. And I'm here today with Brandi Good from
I'm breaking the place.
So we're sitting in the control room over at 91.3 FM, CJTR. And we have a display shelf that puts up all of our show notes so we can read our notes as we go through the show. And our shelf just fell over backwards. So all of our show notes are gone. So we're winging it today. So Brandi,
You want me to grab?
welcome. Sure. Oh, goodness. When we go unprofessional, we go all the way.
Oh, we're good. This is the nature of live anything.
Exactly. If it wasn't entertaining before, it is entertaining now. Oh my goodness. I don't know how actors on TV like keep a straight face when stuff like that happens.
No.
Okay. So Brandi, welcome. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and BLG Business Solutions.
All right. So I am the destroyer of radio studios. But what I really do is I help women entrepreneurs get stuff done. And what that means exactly is that I offer various things like assessments, technology management and reviews, and just helping women be more effective and more efficient with their businesses so they can grow, make more money, have more free time, awesome stuff like that.
Okay. So effective and efficient, that's definitely two terms from a business standpoint that I can relate to. I think of effective and efficient, and I think about getting more done in less time or making more money in less time, some of those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
So can you give us an example of, what your flow might look like when you're working with a client and helping them be more efficient and effective?
Sure. So typically, someone will come to me because they feel really scattered, they're too busy, they're losing track of things in their business or with their clients, and they know that there is a better way to be organized and to do things. They just maybe don't know what that might look like. So they're coming to me for help with, okay, how do I create workflow so I can get all my daily work done? Or what software is out there to help me be more efficient? There's got to be something that can help me do this faster, so I'm not doing so much manual work, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Right? And then we go from there. We figure it out.
Well, and it's interesting. As an entrepreneur myself, I rely on so much software to help me get the job done. Some of it is as simple as email, but some of it is much more complicated, like Google Drive and syncing files between different computers and right. Things like that. And Brandi's smiling because I had a Google Drive horror story the last couple of days, and it's still not fixed, but I can smile. Yeah. I just have to drink lots. Okay, so that makes good sense to me. So can you tell us about some of the different pieces of software that you're working with? Because it's not just, Google software. It's not just marketing software.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so marketing software makes up a big chunk of it. So I'll talk about that first. So that would be things like email marketing services, social media schedulers, graphic design programs, that kind of stuff, even website platforms. So all of that kind of main marketing stuff that we have to use pretty much every day in our businesses because it is 2018.
Mm-hmm. Almost 19.
Just
like less than 90 days.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so a lot of people need help with that stuff. But then there's also a lot of just general productivity. So there's so many like to-do apps, project management software out there, and people need to know which one is right for them, but also how to use it in the best way or the way that makes sense for their business. Because a lot of them you can kind of set up in different ways. And just because, so-and-so big name person says, oh, use this software this way, doesn't mean it's going to actually work for you. Mm-hmm. And it takes time to figure out what works for you. And so I can come in and I can kind of help you figure that out faster.
Okay. Faster is a good thing. everything seems to take forever when you're trying to get it done sometimes.
Yeah.
And what you think, oh, this is a 15, 20-minute task. And there you are 2 hours later, still trying to do it. Right. So how did you get into this kind of business?
So this wasn't what I'm doing right now, wasn't always my business. So this is new since July or August.
Okay, so it's still fairly new.
Yeah, yeah. So I started out doing a variety of still tech and marketing things, and then I focused for a long time just on training and coaching. And so a lot of people probably know me for social media stuff, right? But I looked at my clients and my audience, and I was finding that people who were coming to me for training and coaching, I wasn't seeing them actually implement the stuff that I was showing them. And even though they seemed to be happy because they had learned stuff, I could see that it wasn't actually helping them grow their business. And so I felt, well, I'm not serving them the best way that I could be, because even though they're happy, their businesses aren't flourishing in the way I would expect after learning all this stuff. And so I took a step back and I tried to figure out, okay, what's the gap? What piece is missing? And it was really that hands-on technical piece and the technical know-how that took them from the theory to the execution. And that's where there was a big gap. A lot of people, you know, they understand how to use Facebook, but when they sit down at their computer, they don't know how to upload a photo or where to click to do, like, they know how to use it, but they don't really know how.
That's right. Yeah. Hearing the theory behind something is really different than when you sit down in front of a computer and say, okay, I want to run this Facebook ad. Now, how do I optimize it? Right? So it can be two very different things.
Very different.
So did you go to school to learn this type of information? Has this kind of always been your career path, or? No, she shakes her head. No.
Do any entrepreneurs actually say, yes, that's what I went to school for and I trained all my life? No. So I have a psychology degree. And then when I was done, I was a little bit burned out. So I had full intention of going on to my master's, but I was a little bit burnt out. So I went to Japan to teach English. So that was kind of my first teaching experience. And I found I really liked it. Then I came home and I got kind of into a tech role. In the place I was working, I kind of moved up into a tech role, and I was combining techie stuff, but I was still having to do a lot of training. And I was like, ooh, I like this. But circumstances meant that I needed to leave there, and I decided to start my own business. And so that's kind of where I just did a whole bunch of things. I think that's a really common thing for people starting a business. They don't niche right away, right? And they're just like, well, what are the 100 things I can do? I'm going to offer those things. And, you know, there was techie stuff, there was marketing stuff, because I had my psychology background and a lot of it applied.
Oh, absolutely.
And all the training. So I kind of did all the things for a little bit.
And, you know, I think your point that a lot of entrepreneurs start in that place. Here's the 100 things that I can do. And so I'm just going to hang out a shingle and tell people I can do these 100 things. And then you bring it down to 75, and then you bring it down to 50, and then you bring it down to 10. And you go, okay, this is almost manageable. But, you know, out of these 10, here's the 3 I like. Here's where I want to focus. And I found in my business that when I stopped worrying about, you know, I focus on these 3 things, but I know someone who's really good at those 2 things that you need, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, go talk to Brandi. Then all of a sudden, Brandi and I are working together. We're both doing what we do well. We're both enjoying it more, and the client ends up 1,000 times ahead of where they would have been if it was just, you know, one person and one brain on something. So I have seen that more and more. And in fact, I remember hearing that after I started my business, and I knew it. The hardest part is starting to bring that focus in, and you learn a lot about, here's what I like and here's what I don't. You know, there's always client experiences that help clarify that moment for you.
That's the biggest. If you want to know what you don't want to do, get someone to hire you to do that thing. and then you'll know for sure whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And if I recall correctly, you're a U of R psychology grad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was having some conversations with alumni over at the university, and they have actually been incredibly supportive of this show and in helping me find Regina-based entrepreneurs to talk to and stuff. So one of my upcoming guests is a U of R grad as well. And his business is a whole new piece of software.
Right.
So maybe the two of you want to talk.
Yeah.
You can talk about how that software as a service is going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So are there lots of people who work in your field? Like, to me, it sounds very groundbreaking, space gap kind of filling.
It is sort of new. It's new enough that there isn't you can't point to a title or a phrase and say this is what this job is. Like if you say you're a business coach, people know what that is. If people say you're a website designer, people know what that is. What I do, that's why I have to kind of explain it, because there are people out there who do different parts of what I do. Like there might be a VA who does the really basic kind of admin techie stuff. And then there might be a productivity coach that is focusing on more the high level, okay, here's how you create your process and your workflow. But they're all separate. I haven't yet seen too many people kind of combining all of that to do what I do. I've found a few people who are similar, but certainly nobody local.
Okay. And so that's a really good point. So you just mentioned local. And in fact, your business, even before you got into sort of this bucket of work back in the summer, is both offline and online. So you have built connections, I'm going to say worldwide, just based on conversations you and I have had before, where you've had clients that have been in other countries, on other continents. So you've amassed a significant prospective clients, and in fact, clients that you've worked with around the world. Are you seeing that with the changes in your business, that you're still working on that like international basis, or what do you find is happening?
Right. I'm finding I'm attracting more non-local people now.
Okay.
Because I think in general, there are other parts of the world that are a little bit more maybe tech savvy. I don't want to like throw shade at Regina or anything, right? But they're implementing like the new cutting edge stuff, and where it's just normal for you to run your business from your phone, and online stuff is just the way it's done. Like people would be like, you meet with somebody in person? What's that? So I am finding, like particularly in the States, I've picked up a few more American clients, because that's just the kind of stuff that they're looking for.
Okay.
Right. So, but still a lot of local clients. So I'm happy about that.
Okay. So I know we have a couple of folks listening online, and maybe we can sort of be specific about their businesses. So for example, Southeast College, which of course is down in Weyburn and Estevan,
right.
Putting you a little bit on the spot, Brandi, but can you think, how your business might be able to support a business like theirs? They're very dependent on social media to get their message out there. They do a fair amount of email marketing and funnels to help students through the registration process.
Right.
And of course, in our province right now, on the post-secondary landscape, each institution is pushed to increase revenue and decrease cost.
Right.
So, how would you help them be more effective and efficient?
Yeah. So the big thing with an organization like that is going to be workflows, making sure that everything is so streamlined, and if there's any possibility to automate any of the steps that maybe aren't already being automated. So take the the little tasks that just kind of are distractions on somebody's desk. Can we automate them? Can they be part of some other process that gets done to free up time, so those people can focus on on the high end things,
the bigger pieces, the big rocks in the jar, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about an online business? For example, health coach Cheryl. So
Right.
she is completely online. Of course, she's got some local folks that she works with as well. And she was a guest on our show at the end of August. Her program is growing leaps and bounds, and she's got some exciting changes that are coming.
Yeah.
How would an online business be able to benefit from your services?
Right. So in general, it's still going to be workflows and processes, but then figuring out technology works best for that individual business. Because, like when you say, okay, I need to find like an email marketing service, well, there's like 100, just 100 probably that, there's probably 5,000 more that I don't even know about. So it's like, well, which one do you pick? And the same thing happens with like, there's so much these days. Because she is a solopreneur, into that person's budget.
Okay.
Right. I know particularly with Cheryl, there might be some exciting online offerings coming. So she would be in particular looking at software for that, about what's going to deliver her products and services the best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's some exciting changes ahead.
Yeah.
We better not let the cat out of the bag.
I was like, don't say too much.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, I hear you. Okay, so I have my notes back, so I'm going to do my proper station identification. I wasn't able to do earlier. Apparently, I don't have my script memorized. I was convinced that I did, but I don't. No. So you're listening to Night Views, The Secret Life of Entrepreneurs on 91.3 FM, CJTR, Regina Community Radio. And apparently I don't have this written very well. But anyway, so we'll stop there. I'm going to change focus here. I don't know if you've listened to an on-air episode for a few weeks, Brandi, or a few episodes.
I know for sure I saw the one with Candace.
Okay. So do you remember during the show, I sort of broke from the normal stream of questions and we did a quick series of fast questions just for fun that had nothing to do with business?
Right.
Okay. So we're going to do that.
Oh, the pressure.
Well, and here's the funny thing. So when I did it with Michelle, and the first question was TV oriented because she's got kids. And she's like, oh, I don't watch TV. Oh. I'm like, oh, well, that makes it really tough. How do you not watch TV and have kids? But kudos to her. I give her a ton of credit.
Yeah.
I know you've spent your fair share of time sitting in waiting rooms and things like that lately, just with your own personal life. So I assume there's been some catching up on TV and movies and Netflix. I know you're a Netflix watcher.
Yes.
All right. So favorite series on Netflix right now?
So the thing that I just recently finished would have been the new season of Daredevil.
Ah, okay. How many episodes in a row will you watch?
It depends. If I'm taking a break during the day, like if it's a lunch break or something like that, it'll just be one.
Okay.
Because that's my lunch break. But if it's a weekend or a day off or the evening, it could be anything from 2 to 5.
Okay. So what's the longest binge day you've ever had that you remember?
Oh God. I can't remember.
Can't remember?
No.
Okay. What show were you watching when you did your long binge day? Do you remember that?
Actually, now that I think of it,
okay.
I think so. This would have been maybe not before Netflix was a thing, but certainly before we had Netflix. 24.
Oh, yes, I remember that show.
Because it was hard. I think that was the first thing I'd ever stopped. Just one hour of 24. It was really difficult. So I know me and my husband, we had borrowed the DVDs from a friend. And yeah, like there was probably a day where, we probably watched like 8 or 9 or something in a row. But yeah, I think because that was the first experience. Yes. So I didn't have control of myself.
Exactly. Yes, self-control. It came to a whole new height at that point in time. Oh, I hear you. Okay, last one on the Netflix. Genre. What's your favorite genre of TV to watch then, or movies?
I don't like real life stuff because I want to escape. So it's going to be sort of
Okay.
Right? That's why I like the show that we were listening to before yours.
Mm-hmm.
The kids.
With the Avengers, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was interesting on the weekend. There's been a lot of chatter about Stan Lee's passing, 90 something years old.
Yeah.
Even the kids at school are talking about it.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody recognizes the name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go back to kind of our normal list of questions and let's delve into a little bit. What makes you tick? What makes you keep going? Because you sometimes have a mountain to climb. I know that.
Right. Well, partially, like particularly right now, I'm motivated because I really, really like what I'm doing right now. Because there have been times in the past with kind of the other places I was at in my business where it was, am I enjoying this? How much do I like doing this? You know, then you get a really good client and you're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. But right now with the work, I'm really enjoying it. So that kind of keeps me going. And also the excitement of I tell people what I do, they're kind of like, oh wow, like I need that, or I know someone who needs that, or I will need you soon. And so just knowing that there are people out there that also need what I offer.
That's right.
You know, it's a big motivator.
And you know, I have to agree with you. One of the things that I've really found as an entrepreneur, especially as I honed in on what it was that I was good at it and wanted to do.
Right.
Like I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to the office and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't faze me. It's a Saturday and I'm doing a little bit of work and, you know, none of it phases me because I like it. It's fun.
Right.
And it's a really different experience than getting up, getting dressed and going into the office and, you know, dealing with office politics. So I don't miss the small p politics. Of course, there's still small p politics in entrepreneur world.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. But it's a completely different experience. And my daughter, who's 12, who's probably listening, so hi, Katarina, if you're listening, she asked me on the weekend, she said, why do you work so much, Mom? And I thought, okay, well, that's not the lesson I want my kids to learn. Right. I don't want them to think that, you know, that you have to work 24/7. I said to her, you know, honestly, because I like what I'm doing. And, you know, you guys want to sit and watch a football game on the weekend? That's cool. Right. I can sit beside you and be with you. You're paying attention to the game. We're all still having a conversation. And I might be doing some updates to my website or, you know, prepping something for the following week, some social media.
Yeah.
So, it takes on a completely different flavor.
Yeah.
So I tried to explain to her how much I enjoyed what I do, which when you're 12, it's a little bit difficult to kind of grasp.
Right.
But, you know, I talked about how much I like what I do and, you know, I like the people that I'm doing it with. So when you like what you do, why wouldn't you do more of it?
Yeah.
Right. So she was, you know, struggling a little bit with like, really? Like, do you like it that much?
Yeah.
And of course, when you're in school and you're doing math and French and
kids and work, it's like, how could that be fun? Right?
Yes, exactly. Now, but you put that in terms of, you know, for my son, it might be playing hockey. For my daughter, it might be swimming or, you know, dancing. Like we all have something that we really enjoy doing. It's just hard at that age to think, really, like you like it enough that you want to do it for like 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day. Yeah. That's the part that seems kind of hard.
Yeah.
So I actually let my son start building a website on the weekend. We already had a free account with one of the website developers. And so I let him go in and start playing and, you know, put a picture here. And he was done in about an hour. He's like, Mom, that's hard. Okay, I made my point. My job's not nearly as easy as it seems.
Yeah, exactly.
But you never know. He might be the next CEO for Above the Fold Canada. So keep my fingers crossed. I just got to work for a really long time for that to happen. Okay, a couple more questions and we only have about 2 minutes left. So time is flying. Actually, we only got about 30 seconds left. One quick last question. Is there anything about being a business owner that surprised you?
Oh, oh God, the pressure's on. Everything, everything and nothing. I guess I was I was surprised by what other people thought I did every day.
Okay.
Because there's that kind of impression that, oh, you're an entrepreneur, especially when you work from home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, you charge $1,000 an hour, but you don't really do anything, and you just lay around in your pajamas all day, and that was kind of like, okay, you think that even people I knew very well, like who knew me very well,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's what you think I do?
That's like one of those memes that says, here's what my parents think I do, here's what my
Yeah,
in-laws think I do, yeah, and here's what I really do.
yeah.
Exactly. All right, we are in the last few seconds here, so I'm going to wrap it up. Brandi, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. We will be back 2 weeks from today, and our guest will be Ree Faber from Amaranth Designs here in Regina. She's going to talk a little bit about her fashion design business. And in fact, if we're lucky, she's going to share her secrets from the early days when, she wasn't quite as sure that she was going to be able to make a go of it. But if you know her designs at all, you know that she has some fantastic stuff for what I like to call real women who want real clothes that fit. So if you haven't looked at her stuff, you absolutely need to. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can reach out to me directly at Barb at Above the Fold Canada, or find us on Facebook and Instagram. Your host, Sherry, will be back next week at 12 o'clock. And remember, you worked hard for your success. Don't keep it a secret.